From a distance, this looks like a battleship. It's not. It's an island, or what's left of one. 60 years ago, over 5,000 people lived here, packed into less space than most city blocks. Today, nobody does. Nobody has for decades. This is the true story of how a tiny island became the most densely populated place on Earth, and how it emptied out almost overnight. Hashima sits about 15 kilometers off the coast of Nagasaki, Japan. It's tiny, just 6.3 hectares, smaller than most golf courses. Coal was first found here around 1810, but it wasn't until 1887 that serious mining began, right as Japan was racing to industrialize and catch up with the Western world. In 1890, the powerful Mitsubishi company bought the island outright, and they didn't just mine it, they rebuilt it. Mitsubishi built seawalls and reclaimed land from the ocean, roughly tripling the island's original size, just to have enough room to work with. In 1916, they built Japan's first large reinforced concrete apartment building right here, 7 floors, built specifically to survive the typhoons that regularly battered the island. More towers followed, a school, a hospital, everything a self-contained mining town would need, because there was nowhere else to put any of it. By 1959, Hashima's population peaked at 5,259 people. On just 6.3 hectares, that works out to roughly 835 people per hectare, commonly cited as the highest population density ever recorded anywhere on Earth, roughly 9 times denser than central Tokyo at the same time. People lived stacked on top of each other in these concrete towers, married to a single employer, dependent entirely on the mine and on Mitsubishi for housing, food, water, and electricity, all shipped in from the mainland. There wasn't room for much greenery, so residents built rooftop gardens. There was a shrine, a cinema, even a pool, a full, dense little world built entirely on coal. But Hashima's story has a chapter that tourism brochures often leave out. Starting in the late 1930s and continuing through the end of World War II, Japan's wartime government conscripted labor from Korea, then under Japanese colonial rule, and brought Chinese prisoners of war to sites like Hashima to work the mines. Historical estimates suggest several hundred Korean laborers and Chinese POWs were forced to work here under brutal, dangerous conditions, deep in undersea mine shafts with inadequate food and little regard for their safety. Records are incomplete, but one study using cremation documents found nearly 1,300 deaths at the mine during this period. This wasn't a footnote. For the people who died here, it was the entire story. When Japan sought UNESCO World Heritage status for the island in 2015, this history became an international dispute. Japan agreed to acknowledge the forced labor and build an information center about it. Years later, watchdog groups and historians say that promise still hasn't been fully kept. Most tours and on-site displays largely don't mention it. It's a part of Hashima's history worth knowing, alongside everything else the island represents. After the war, Hashima kept growing, reaching that peak population in 1959. But the ground was already shifting beneath it, literally the coal, and figuratively the entire industry. Through the 1960s, Japan rapidly shifted from coal to petroleum. One by one, coal mines across the country began shutting down. Hashima's undersea reserves were also running low. In January 1974, Mitsubishi officially closed the mine. By April 20th, just 3 months later, the island was completely evacuated. People left quickly. Furniture, personal photographs, even full sets of dishes were left behind, because moving them off a shrinking coal island with no more jobs simply wasn't worth it. For the next 3 decades, nature took over. Storms battered the empty concrete shells. Vegetation crept in through broken windows. Hashima sat completely off limits. Nobody was allowed to land. Starting in the 1990s, the empty island started attracting a different kind of visitor. Photographers and urban explorers drawn to its eerie, undisturbed decay. Its dramatic, ruined skyline eventually caught Hollywood's attention too. Parts of the 2012 James Bond film Skyfall used Hashima's look as inspiration for a villain's abandoned lair. In April 2009, after 35 years of closure, Hashima officially reopened to tourists, carefully controlled, guided landings only for safety. In 2015, it became part of a UNESCO World Heritage listing and, as we covered, part of an ongoing dispute over how honestly its full history gets told. Hashima is, at the same time, several different things. Proof of how fast a nation can industrialize, a monument to a community that briefly became the most densely packed place humans have ever lived, and a site where real people suffered and died under forced labor that the historical record hasn't always been allowed to fully tell. None of those things cancel the others out. They're all just true at the same time about the same small island. That's your OHpedia for today. If this made you go, huh, I never knew that, share it with someone whose brain you like.